All right. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. You're tuned in with the success scholar Haki Ammi here. Thank you all for tuning in, listening in to this wonderful, wonderful broadcast here. Thank you. Oh man, it's a beautiful, beautiful day. Fortunately, it seems that every Monday, Brother Kwesi, that it's raining, but we got a good Monday night coming in loud and clear as well. So I thank you. It sounds like you did something good coming up. It's a little bit, more clear. So I certainly appreciate that. And we're going to have an awesome show. And I want to thank, those who have tuned in over the past few weeks. And actually last week I just, did the show by myself, had a good just dialogue, and every once in a while I don't get the opportunity to just kind of flow, and so I gotta really tweak that and really get that part of the message out. And so, but I enjoy having people to come on in to the studio. But before I get into my guests, I'm gonna just mention a few things. We here, you got an hour with me, brother, so
take your time.
Yeah, so I just want to a shout out to people tuning in, Sister Akina and Sister Marie. We're going to get you on too, Sister Marie, and get that brother to follow up with me. But so everything is coming up, just a lot of good things happening this Friday, for those that are in the DMV area. It's just been an awesome opportunity. Last year, I had the opportunity to get to the Get Motivated conference. So this year, I'm actually, we have the Be More Motivated, and so I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be in Baltimore, but I definitely will be at the Get Motivated conference in Baltimore as well as DC. I do have a flyer here. You can go to my Facebook or my Instagram, Success Scholar on Instagram, as well as my Twitter, Success Scholar, and you can see that. What's up, Keenan? And man, and let me just let everybody know a few of the documentaries. And so the Power Talk 3 that was in DC, Carl Nelson on 1450, I was a co-sponsor of that. Just had a good time, and I have several of the DVDs still available, as well as, of course, 7 a.m. And we are working, and we know that we have the Congressional Black Caucus coming up. And so Jason Black put this out, has some few individuals on here. Don Peebles, many people out of the D.C. area know him. He's in this. He's the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. So I just sent them an email as to, can you please show this film? So 7 a.m. I have copies of that. And Black Friday. And I just got word I'll be in Silver Spring coming your way, brother, next Sunday, the 28th. I just got word confirmation. There's a wealth, diversity, human wealth, something. I'll figure it out. I'll print up the flyer, but I'm kind of on a not the main speaker or anything like that at that event, but looking forward to. I think I got a breakout room or something I just was added to, so looking forward to that. And for those who may not know, I'm Haki Ammi, the Success Scholar. I'm the best-selling author of Mission Unstoppable: Extraordinary Stories of Failure's Blessings, which is a co-authored book with Les Brown and George Frazier and 31 other amazing authors, co-authors as well. So just some amazing individuals. I have my book in a thing, but I'm not talking about myself today. I'm talking about this amazing brother. Yes, Akina, I know. Yes, thank you. Have an amazing brother with me. But what I'm reading right now, I wasn't like into 50 Cent at all, but I was into the book 48 Laws of Power. And so he did this book with the Robert Greene. You familiar with the 48 Laws of Power book? Yeah. And I didn't read the whole 48 Laws of Power some years ago, but I browsed through it. I know it's a inspirational, empowering book. And now that I started reading this, I purchased this. I don't know how or where I purchased it at. I'm definitely not necessarily interested in rap, but knowing that story or reading this story and him and Robert Greene coming together, I think that young people could get something positive out of it, in a sense to, really just, come up from the streets and come up and know that this environment is not where you want to be. And this book can certainly help you with that. So I just say that this book is a masterpiece for business and empowerment and growth. So without further ado, just a couple weeks ago, I met a good brother. We were at the Urban League conference. It was in Baltimore, and it was just an awesome opportunity to. Urban League coming to Baltimore. I just thought, like, look, it's in my city, my town, where I was born and raised, and I met this good brother. Brother Stuart Taylor. We actually were to do a panel / discussion there at the Urban League conference, and so we had a discussion there, and it was just a really great opportunity. And he has a book, a really awesome book, How to Ace a Job Interview. And let me just kind of put that up so everybody can see it. And let me get to the right camera, but we'll definitely give out the contact information. He actually is right here in Silver Spring. So, Brother Stuart, thank you, man, for coming into the studio. Yes, Akina, he's close to you too. So holla at the brother. I know you out there. So, Brother Stuart Taylor, man. So, yeah, man, it's a pleasure meeting you, brother. And definitely, this is something that we need to know. So, just to share first, open up and tell the listening audience about yourself. Who are you? And how'd you get started? Let's just start with that.
Firstly, I want to thank you for having me on your program.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I want to salute you for this gentleman told me he read 100 books a year for 10 years.
11, right?
11.
I lost count. Yeah.
I don't know if I know people that read 100 books in their lifetime. So I got to salute you for that. You encouraged me to get busy. So thank you, man. I appreciate it. So about me, this book was published in 2013. It was 13 years in the making. What inspired me to write it was I used to be a district sales manager for a division of Abbott Laboratories, and so I would interview people for openings that I had, and I used recruiters. Recruiters generally present you with pre-screened, qualified people, and 9 out of 10 times I would pass on the person that met with me. So this is a pre-screened candidate, qualified for the job.
Wow.
For one reason or another, I would move on with someone else. I wouldn't bring them back for a second interview.
Wow. So you're saying 90% of the population. Now these are not like little regular people off the streets. These are like corporate
experienced. This was
what industry? What industry? Sales.
So these are experienced
and sales people are normally kind of sharp about some things. I mean, you gotta. You have a certain level of professionalism, to get out there and interact with people. So you got to have some communication skills, right? I mean, generally speaking. So you said, salespeople, 90% of them. Go ahead.
So here's the thing. 90% of them, 100% of them could have done the job I had. So 90% of them got passed up on by me. So the key thing is that, and it's not limited to sales, is these are people that were qualified to do a job, showed up expecting to do well on an interview.
Wow.
Interviewed, left the interview, thought they did well, and will never hear from me again. And I recognize this, and it was usually because of something little that they didn't do or little that they did do that they shouldn't have. Showing up a minute late, for example. People think I'll just show up when I get there. No, you got to be there on time. You got to be there early.
Tip one, show up on time.
Tip one, and you show up a minute late. You may not know it, but the interview's over. They may talk to you for another 45 minutes or an hour, but you've already made your impression. Things like, and seems remedial, but things like handshakes.
Yes.
There was a guy one time, I talked to him on the phone, sounded like a great guy, and brought him in, and the guy shook my hand, and I had to check to see if his hand was even in my hand. There was nothing there. I mean, and so that wet fish thing, and the thing is, you don't realize that made an impression on me, an indelible impression of this guy would not represent me well. This guy is not strong, and I don't want him on my team because of his handshake. Sometimes people would have either a resume, maybe there was a typo on the resume, or I knew the resume better than they knew their resume.
Wow.
And so this is the first impression.
Right.
Now, all of these things, and there are dozens of other things, but all of these things are fixable. So with a little preparation, if someone had just sat down and said, hey, you know what? Here are a few things you need to do before you show up on this interview. When I ask someone, hey, so what do you know about our company? Or why do you want to work for our company? And someone comes up crickets with no answer.
Wow.
You're sitting there thinking, wait a minute,
Do you know about the company?
you know?
Did you read up? Did you Google it? Right?
Well, here's the thing. With the internet,
yes.
Right now, I can pull out my cell phone and pull up any company in the world in about 5 seconds, right? And I can read that site if I speed reader in another 15 seconds, at least get an idea. I will know something about the company. So if you show up on an interview and you don't know anything about the company, you've just told the interviewer,
wow,
I'd really like to work here, but you weren't worth 5 seconds of my time. just so you know.
Right.
And I was a minute late.
Wow. Wow.
And so there's some very basic fundamental things that I talk about in my book and I talk when I do my seminars that will help anybody improve not only their interview skills, but their sense of confidence and their ability to present themselves. And so this happened as a result of my seeing good people that could have done a job, that there was a career opportunity for them that they missed, they left, they will never know why they didn't get it. And they'll go on to the next interview, they'll do the same thing. And then they'll do the same thing. And then they'll do the same thing. And so it's too expensive not to get the job that you're interviewing for in any industry.
Yeah, time is money, and and actually, I brought this. I think I have this other book with me, Slight Edge, Joe Olson, and this is where the power of Jeff Olson.
Jeff.
Yeah. Oh, glad you know that with me. But this is where having access to books like this to really fine tune your analysis. Fine tune your preparation skills comes in handy, and so quick tips for an excellent interview is the subtitle of the book. So let's get into it a little bit here. So you have how many chapters here? Let me just browse through it again here, bro. So understanding the interview process. Let's just open with that. Let's. So what are you? Some of the quick tips in terms of understanding the interview process.
Okay, I'm going to explain something that will help anybody and everybody. There are a few key concepts that if people understand what the employer is looking for, meaning the interviewer, what do they want?
Right.
If I know what you want, I'm in a better position to present you with that.
Right.
If I have no idea what you want, I'm kind of just throwing stuff up against the wall and I hope some of this sticks.
Right.
And so preparation is a key part of it, but understanding just conceptually, how do I know what they want? I've never met this person before. How do I know? And I have an analogy in the book, and there's actually a section in there. It's called the dating analogy.
That's it. Chapter 3, dating analogy.
And the dating analogy is a very simple analogy. It's kind of fun because you can use it either for interviewing or for dating. I guess you can swap it out depending on how you want.
Right.
But the dating analogy is this. Is that the dynamic between the interviewer and the interviewee. So the interviewer would be the person interviewing you, the interviewee is the job seeker sitting on the other side of the table, is virtually identical to that of two people dating with the intention of getting married or entering into a long-term relationship. And that may sound far-fetched, but minus the romance, everything else is the exact same. So what do I mean by that? That means on a date, you're showing up for a date, you know if you're going out to a nice place, you got to dress the part. You can't just show up any old which way.
Right.
Communication, you've got to communicate. You've got to have great eye contact. You're looking for someone that you've got common goals with, someone that you enjoy talking with, someone that you can see yourself in the future with better than by yourself. So they've got to add value to you. If you've ever been burnt in a relationship and you run into the next person, what do you need? You need extra reassurance that this person isn't going to burn you. We've all been through that. So I use the dating analogy so people can understand if I know how to perform or act or interact with a date, then I will know how to interact on an interview. It's the same. And so just for example, some people get very intimidated on interviews because you get some interviewers that are in your face. They're like that pit bull, bulldog. What about this? What about that? What about that?
Right.
That scares a lot of people. But if you stop and realize, okay, this person is not dealing with me. They just met me, so they can't be upset with me.
Right. It's not personal.
They probably dealt with something in the past, i.e. maybe they had an employee that screwed them over. Maybe they had an employee that didn't perform. And so now they're afraid that you are going to do the same thing. So they're giving you a really hard way to go to see if you can rise up to what they need.
Right.
And if you understand the fear behind the question that he's asking, the question that the interviewer is asking is, I'm afraid you're going to hurt me like the last person. So what do you do with that? You reassure them. You don't shrink back and think, oh my goodness, this guy's beating me up with all these questions. You stop and realize that interviewer has a certain level of fear from prior relationships, meaning people that he's hired or she's hired. And I need to demonstrate to him, I need to reassure this person that I can do what they need me to do, that I can alleviate their fears. And the way I would alleviate their fears is by providing specific supportive examples to say, you know what, I hear you, that's a great question. Let me share with you how I've handled that in the past, and use specific supportive examples to demonstrate their ability and skill set.
Wow, that's on point. And what's interesting, about HR. Actually, I was just about a month ago, I was supposed to take a HR related class for Baltimore City, and so and it got pushed back to October, but it's a good relevant topic in terms of how HR are thinking about recruitment and retention. How do you assess an employee that's going to be a good employee? What makes up a good employee? So in terms of selling yourself, like on a date, I know you always say first, of course, I don't know if you dress the part, dress the part.
You wouldn't take someone out to a 5-star restaurant, right? And if your date showed up in shorts and a T-shirt, how are you going to feel about that? Right. And so you wouldn't show up on an interview with anything less than the professional level that company represents. Right. And you can't you can't overdress. Right?
Exactly.
Unless you bring in a tux. I wouldn't go there. But beyond that, even if they're dressed casually, if you show up in a suit, you've made a really positive impression. Right. Don't show up in shorts. Don't just take the time to look the part, because you have disqualified yourself instantly if you show up dressed improperly. And again, you'll never know. They're not going to say, by the way, why didn't you wear a jacket? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you wear some shoes? Why didn't they'll never tell you. Right.
And it should almost go without saying, actually.
It should, but it does.
It's really like scary that, people may not like get these basic type of skills to know whatever job that you're going to, it's better to err on the side of at the level of what they, or above, not anything below.
Right.
Like you said, you don't want to have, these HR people, they going through resumes and they like, just quick scanning with their eyes and like, that person did this, that person did that.
I want to touch on something. HR people and hiring authorities at a company. I think a lot of people show up on an interview and they assume that because they're in that role, they know how to interview. So you're assuming they know all the right questions to ask and know how to gather everything they need to make a thorough evaluation on you. That's not true. There are plenty of people that are promoted into a management or a hiring level position that have no idea what questions to ask. They have no idea how to really interview, which means, now here's the thing. If they don't know the right questions to ask, they still know when the interview is over if they liked you or they didn't like you. So the reality is, if you don't know yourself, your strengths and what you're bringing to the table for an interview or a particular job, and you don't articulate those, whether they ask you about those specific things or not, you have done yourself a tremendous disservice. Because the way I talk about this in the book, I call it the greatest strengths worksheet. And basically everyone needs to know what their top 5 and top 10 greatest strengths are. You got to know what you're bringing to the table. That does a lot of things. One, it's really great in life because then you can walk with your head held high. No matter what your background is, I guarantee you've got 5 or 10 great things about you. And if you don't know, ask someone else what they are, because someone else will tell you. Hey, you're great at this.
Yes.
It's like, oh.
Yes.
So everyone needs their top 5 and top 10 greatest strengths so they know who they are. And then you also know on an interview, when you're talking about any one of those strengths, that it's important to support that with a specific example. Meaning, if I say I'm a great salesperson, Everyone can say that. You can
Right,
say it.
right.
Anyone can say it. Anyone in
Right.
the studio can say it. Anyone out there can say it.
Man,
but
that's good.
only
That's
a few of us can support that with, I'm a great salesperson. I won the President's Club Award 3 times in the last 5 years. Okay, that's supported with a specific example. So it's important, A, when you're on an interview, to know what your strengths are, so that even if the interviewer does not ask you the appropriate questions, to find out who are you in terms of what I need you to be for this position. You need to know what the job requires. You need to know how your strengths line up with that. And then you need to fit that in to the interview, whether they ask you the question or not. Blend it into your answer.
That's good. That's an awesome point. That is an awesome point, man. And I don't know, like, it made me think about, when I first got out the Navy, and I interviewed for a position at the Mayor's Office of Employment Development. I got the job, fortunately. It was
That's
just
right.
like, right. But there were some jobs that I didn't get. And, it's like, I can't understand why. But actually, and for those who may not know, I still am, with the Baltimore City Fire Service. But before that, I applied for Anne Arundel County. And I always tell a story that and I'm 25, 26 years old, and it just made me realize, like, how even sometimes the best people don't do their homework. Like, I'm trying to get a position in the fire department, and the chief asked me, do you have your EMT certificate? And I'm like, what's that?
Next.
And it just, and I always beat myself up over that. Like, man, what why didn't I, like, do some basic
Just basic research on yourself, research on the company, research on yourself. But
Right.
I got a story like that, and it's as simple as that. It's like all I do is read one article about this, and I would have known EMP is something that I need.
Right.
When I was a sales manager, I
Yes.
got a call from a recruiter who said, "Hey, I've got an opportunity for you. It's a regional director position. Person's going to call you in 5 minutes." I was like, "Great, cool, no problem."
Right.
I did no preparation. I just waited for the phone call. Lady called me up. We had a great conversation for like 45 minutes. And then at the end of near the end of the conversation, she said, "So you're in sales, you're in management. Where are you ranked? Like, how are you ranked? How are you performing amongst your peers?"
Okay.
And I drew a blank. I completely drew a blank. I was like, I don't know.
Wow.
I said, "Let me get back to you on that one." All right. As soon as I said that, this conversation that was just like one of the best conversations I've ever had, just plane wrecked. It was just like, yeah. I was like, no. And I tried to reel it back. I was like, well, let me try. And I could tell the lady had disconnected. She was gone. She was gone. She was gone. So she hangs up the phone within another 3 minutes. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I can't believe that. I can't. And all of a sudden, ding, I had won the President's Club. I was ranked number 1. I was the number 1 ranked manager.
Wow.
I couldn't think of that. Because I didn't take 2 seconds to sit down before the call and say, okay, I'm a great sales manager. Why? Well, you won the President's Club.
Wow.
And I'd won it several times.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I couldn't remember that. And it taught me that if you can't remember something that significant at the time you need, because you get some anxiety sometimes, right?
Right.
Then you're going to forget a lot lesser things that you need to also share. And so it's really important that top 5, top 10 list is to take, you can do a top 5 list, top 10 list in 2 minutes if you had to.
Yes, right,
and just
right.
write down, who am I? Because really, to an employer, you are a compilation of your strengths. If the job has 5 requirements for that job, whether it's leadership, technical acumen, whatever it might be, and you have 3 of those, you're a 3. If you have 4, you're a 4. If you have 5, you're a 5, and that's what they're looking for. And if you can show that fearful interviewer that you've got 5 out of 5 things, that takes away their fear.
Right.
They're reassured. And the way you reassure them is with this supportive example. So that's kind of a few tips that are in the book.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, so everybody, I hope you all got that. For you all that are listening and will be listening to this, let's give out your website. We're going to take a break, but I want to give out the call-in number. If anybody got any questions or comments, 240-455-5934. We're going to go to a break, but give out your, contact information. We're going to do it one more time when we come back.
My website is topperformers.com. Topperformers.com.
Topperformers.com.
And I've got a Get the Job 1, 2, 3 on why am I drawing a blank on our Twitter.
Oh, really? Okay.
Obviously,
Oh, that's
I
your
use that
Twitter?
a lot, right? Twitter.
Get the job.
123.
123.
Yeah,
Oh, man, I like that. I like that. All right, so we're going to go to a quick break. Again, call in number 240-4555-934. You can call in right now and ask your question for Brother Stuart C. Taylor. So we're going to go to a quick break.
Waiting on the right guy. He says I'm precious, but I think he's lying. Just to get my attention and make me fall, not to mention he got crazy intentions. I couldn't trust him, so I didn't want him. Surely I know exactly what I want. Surely I know exactly what I stand. I haven't found what I've been looking for. Oh, I can't do this no more. I'm a just run high, go far away. True love, I'll never gonna pack my heart. I'm a just so I done it all before. Why did I even ignore? I played the role of a bad girl and snuck some boys out the back door, so somebody would love me. I got smart and started thinking I wasn't smiling or feeling free. Shawty, this ain't love, yo, and I ain't happy. Surely exactly what I want. Surely I know exactly what I know. Found what I've been looking for. Oh, I can't do this no more. I'm a just run high, go far away. True love, I'll never gonna pack my heart. I'm a just. That's what I get for being so big. So thought I found Mr. Right, but he tricked me. Found me face somehow. I felt hard. I'm hurt again and right back. It's lost out in a different place and lost a lot of time. I ran the wrong race and lost all my mind. I gotta get back. I can't hide that. I gotta find it. I guess I gotta pay to push, get to and a big cone. Who's gonna look for me when I'm gone? Still, I haven't found. Been looking for, can't do this no more. Just run high, gonna go far away. True love, I'll never. I'm gonna pack my bag. I haven't found what I'm looking for, but I can't do this no more. I'ma just run high, go far away. True love, I'll never.
Oh no! Who is gonna clean that up?
All right. We are back. Thank you all for tuning in and sticking around with us. For you all at home and for you all live. It's Arlen. Okay, can't call from where I'm at. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for listening, Arlen. Appreciate that. eLife Media, just the brief commercial. eLife Media Fall Concert Series, September the 24th, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Cover charge $20 at the door. We're gonna have a band called Seven. Where they out of? They DC band? Oh, band called Seven. Not after Seven, but just Seven. Not like the movie Seven, but just band called Seven. From parts unknown, but they're gonna tear it up here at Everlasting Life at 9185 Central Avenue in Capitol Heights, Maryland. And is this on the website as well? Or are we gonna maybe? Oh, okay, we're gonna work on that. Cash Bar, Saturday, September the 24th. Doors open at 9 p.m. Streaming live. So we're going to live stream this fall concert. And this can act as our 6-month anniversary as well. So we're going to turn this into a eLife Media 6-month anniversary, half the year, September the 24th. Let me get that right. Go to elifemedia.net for more information, or we'll call in number. We'll work on that, but definitely just call me, 410-209-9687. I will plug you into the rest of that. So, and I have on joining and sticking around with us. He'll be in for the next 30 minutes, 25 minutes. We have our brother, Stuart C. Taylor, and his book is How to Ace a Job Interview. Quick tips for excellent interview. So where we left off, bro?
We left off talking about how people need to know themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They need to understand, take a few minutes to find out what the job requirements are. If you can get a job description and read that so you know what is it these folks are looking for. And then how do my strengths line up with the requirements of the job?
Okay.
And you can spend as much or as little time on that as you want. The more time, the better, obviously. But if you get called for an interview in 24 hours, you can only do so much. But that is one of the most important things you can do, is understand your strengths, your values, so you know how to line that up with the job.
And this would come along, the section 2. So this book, for those who may watch now or may watch later, is broken down into 5 chapters. 5 chapters, and I think chapter 2, section 2, shall I say, the pre-interview preparation. So let me just browse or mention some of these: resume tips, voicemail, phone, and internet tips, preparing a brag book, and that can be along the line of what you were saying. Preparing for questions, preparing your own questions, arrival and attire. We kind of hit on that. A few final pre-interview pointers. Any of those stick out to you that we may have talked about? Or
I want to touch on something. I was laughing when you talk about phone tips, and one of the things people don't seem to understand is, when does an interview start? When does the interview start? And I do seminars and I ask people when the interview starts. Some people say, well, it starts when you show up.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say, well, it starts when you shake the person's hand and sit down.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say, well, it starts when you drive into the parking lot. And that's true too.
Yes.
Because you don't want to have the bass thumping and everything going crazy, and you're just like jamming your thing going on, and you pull up and the person you're about to interview is next to you.
Right.
You've already made your first impression.
Yes.
Can't take it back. You
Right.
Can't take it back.
Right.
But it starts well before that, and that's what most people don't understand. It starts the moment you click send to send your resume, or the moment you have that first conversation with somebody that could possibly have anything to do with this job. So what does that mean? I think all of us have Facebook accounts, LinkedIn accounts, other social media accounts. I don't think people realize how often a company, and I know one company in particular that I work with, as soon as they get a resume, they go on LinkedIn and they take a look at the picture. Now, I know there are other companies that will go on Facebook. They'll check other things out. And you don't even know that they're doing this. So think about it. You've got a great resume. You've done really well in your life. You find a job that's your dream job that you want to move to. Exactly. And they got a picture of you in Malibu,
Right.
smoking a spleef or doing something crazy.
Yeah.
And you think it's funny.
Right.
It's not. It's
Right,
destroyed your career. And you will never know that that's why you lost. You're like, wait a second, the resume was great. I never got a call. I don't understand. So the bottom line is, as soon as you make the decision to interview, you have to clean up your stuff, and you should do it well ahead of time. The picture shouldn't be up to make sure whatever's representing you is professional. Anything out there is professional. Now, you can't go back and erase your past, whatever's there, but you can start right now and make sure that is some clearly professional imagery. Anything that you're writing, stating about yourself, makes a great impression, or at least a neutral impression on anybody that's looking at it.
Wow.
And that goes for the answering machine too. So you don't have like the bass going on, hey, yo, this is Willie, what's up? You know, hey, yo, just leave me a message after the tone and after the 5-minute song I got on here. You know,
right. Yeah,
can't do
and people do it. People do it. People have different type of little ringtones or whatever. You know, Lil Wayne ringtones or whatever whatever you like. It's like, come on now.
Yeah.
You know, we're adults here. And you know, you mentioned an interesting tip, and this is, you know, how I try to keep a good balance. I don't let people, you know, we have all types of friends on social media. I don't let people curse on any of my posts. I don't let people use, you know, disparaging remarks about, you know, particular ethnic groups or you know, persuasions, or, you know, I just try to keep it, you know, I mean, we can have an intelligent conversation or disagreements or whatever without, you know, going off the line, you know, if you will, or going out of bounds. What I say, going out of bounds with your communication style, putting half-naked pictures, or, you know, I don't go to some club type places a lot, but I see people posting pictures of alcohol. It's like, you know, you gotta watch that imagery, you know, because that's, you know, people are, you know, you've been judged by the company that you keep. You know, whether you do this thing on, you know, personal, it's like, I mean, we just have to watch it depending upon our image. Now, if you a rock star and you promoting for cognac or something like that, I mean, you're getting paid for it, but depending upon your type of job or position that you have to, your image is everything.
And you can't take back the first impression. You can't take it back, and most times you can't even recover from it. And if you can, it takes a whole lot more work than not having to change that. So you want the first impression to be a really positive. You know, even when people show up on an interview, if people have crazy hair or want blue hair or tattoo, you know, hide it. You know, because you're making an impression, and you don't know what that impression is. And so you want to show up as I call it neutral professional, or professional neutral as possible.
Exactly,
so that
right.
something about you isn't distracting to them.
Yes,
it's just it fits the part. So they're talking to you. They want to get to know you, not man. That guy got a green suit on.
right,
you know, a bright green suit.
Yeah,
so,
right. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so let's look at this next chapter. We just kind of, you know, browsing through on the interview, things to bring, things to ask and say, things to do, body language. Dealing with fear. Yeah, let's hit on body language. Body language says a lot. You know, I mean, I know I've seen some things that 80% is based upon your nonverbal communication. I'm
gonna show this to the people on TV.
Sure.
So you're the interviewer, and I'm talking to you, and so one of the things people don't realize is it's true. Your body language conveys a whole lot more than your words may ever say. And one of the things people need to make sure that they know is they're showing that they're enthusiastic, that they're engaged. So not only is that eye contact's got to be great. Handshake, we already talked about that. But just how you are, and eye contact is body language, but how you are sitting in your chair conveys a message about you. It shows that I'm either interested and engaged with what you're saying, or I don't really care about what you're saying. So if I'm sitting back in my chair, kind of like this, like, I'm
the boss, right?
I look like I'm the boss, and I can get up and leave anytime I want. And you're really not that important to me. Now you might be important, but I don't make you feel that way. Versus sitting forward, so that my back is never touching the back of the chair. And that's how you know you're sitting forward. So I'm sitting a little bit forward. It expresses interest, enthusiasm. I'm engaged. I want to hear what you have to say. And I've actually I had a candidate that went on an interview, and candidate was phenomenal. So I knew she was going to kill it. The manager calls me after the interview, and I said, "So how'd it go?" And he said, "Well, not so great." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And I'm usually a pretty good assessor of whether someone's going to ace it or not. And he said, "Well, first of all, she was sitting back in her chair. First of all, that was the first thing the guy noticed." And it gives, and the thing is, I tend to sit back. It's a relaxing way to sit, but you have to be cognizant of what does this look like?
Image.
What does this look like?
Right.
And then there's another thing, and it'll be harder to explain, but I'll try to explain it. But when you shake someone's hand, you need to make sure you get a good grip on the handshake. And I should know what this part of the hand is, but right between your thumb and forefinger.
Right.
Is there a name for that part? I need to
I'm
look
not
that up.
sure.
But right there, you want to connect there.
Yes,
a good
yes,
grip,
good
not a
point. Yes,
bone
sir.
crusher grip. You're not trying to bring someone down to their knees.
Right.
You're just trying to demonstrate I've got a professional handshake. But here's a little thing that almost nobody knows, but everyone notices. When you are concluding an interview and you're shaking someone's hand goodbye and thanking them. So you've gone through the whole interview.
Right.
Everything's gone
Goodbye,
great.
thank you, right.
That last split second, most people turn away and look away before they break hand contact. It's a split second.
Right.
It
yeah.
sends a message
yes.
of insincerity. It's like, and if you ever, when you'll notice people that are watching, you'll notice this after this. But when you shake someone's hand, if they start to look away before they've let go of your hand, it's like, what was that? And it can undo everything that you did for the first hour, half hour, 2 hours of your interview because it sends a message of insincerity.
Right.
And so they're sitting there thinking, well, was this whole thing a farce? Did they just fool me?
Wow.
And so you want to make sure before you break hand contact, break eye contact, before you break eye contact, finish shaking the hand, and then break eye contact. And it's a split fraction of a second thing, but it makes all the difference in the world to the person that's viewing you.
Wow. That's an awesome tip. I mean,
And everybody does it wrong. Almost everybody does it wrong.
Wow. And this is why professional development is important. To connect to those that are in this space. It's the slight edge in terms of just standing out. You have to stand out on many different levels. So what makes you different? You have to always reflect and think about, you're up against the world, actually, the 7 billion people on the planet. So why is someone going to want you? And so with that, let's go to the next chapter. If anybody want to call in, anybody want to call in, 240-455-53. I'm sorry, 5934.
I want to touch on one other thing.
Sure.
Is another thing that will help. People have interview anxiety. It's a natural thing. There are very few people that love going on interviews. Some of them do, but most people don't. There are several ways to alleviate that. One is doing your homework on yourself so you know what you're bringing to the table. And that's extremely helpful because then you walk in confident and positive of who you are and all that you offer. Another thing that can trigger interview anxiety is someone that goes and reads a book or list of 1,000 interview questions because it's like, I got to learn all these questions. I got to learn answers to these questions.
Right,
and if I don't know these questions, I'm going to fail in my interview. That's not true.
Right.
You actually, there are a few interview questions that are good to know. However, if you take the time, going back to what we talked about earlier, to understand what the job requirements are and understand yourself.
Right.
Meaning these are the 5 things or 10 things that make up me as a person. These are my supportive examples for these things. You now have all the answers, almost all the answers. So you don't need to study the questions if you have the answers. And the answer is, who am I and what am I bringing to the table for this job?
Right.
If I know that, you can ask me any question you want.
Right.
And I can answer it.
Yeah.
Just like if I said, what's your name? You don't have to think about it because you know it.
Right.
There's no
Right,
anxiety. You don't break out in a sweat. You just tell me. And once you know the other strengths and things about you, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, I know I'm a great salesperson for this. I know I'm a great leader because of this. I know I'm great in customer service. I know I'm a great technological whiz. I know because I've thought about it and I've listed examples that make me know that it's true and I can present those. And so it saves you a lot of time and anxiety of trying to study a million questions. And I could maybe jump into a couple of the questions that you should know, but that'll help people move forward in an interview with less anxiety.
Yeah, confident that what you are aspiring towards, that you somehow can meet the needs, and being able to explain how you add value, how are you worthy, in a sense. So yeah. But go ahead if you want to. You said you wanted to explain. Some of the questions. Did you have some of the questions?
Well, I mean, one of the questions, what do you know about our company, or why are you here?
Okay.
You have to know that question.
Why are you here?
Why are you here?
Never heard someone ask that. Okay.
What are you doing here? And
I think okay. What are you doing here? Okay. All right. That's interesting. Yes.
And you've got to know. You've got to know what you want. I talk about various fundamentals. I call them the 7 fundamentals. But first one is knowledge of what you want. And it is very fair for an interviewer to say, what are you looking for? Why are you here? It's all kind of the same question. And you've got to be able to answer that succinctly and confidently. And not, I think I'm kind of looking for this and that. And no, you got to be focused on what you want. And what you want has to be what they're offering.
Right.
So you can be good at a lot of things. But on this interview today, the things that you're good at have to be what they need you to be good at.
Yes.
And you have to understand that intimately well so that you can explain it. And again, a lot of this boils back to that knowing your top 5 and top 10 greatest strengths. There's another question that people get, and it throws most people answer it improperly, is a question about what are your weaknesses? Where have you tried your best but failed? Now, I will say this as one of my fundamental principles, which is fundamental rule number 5 in the book, positive attitude. Positive attitude covers a whole lot. Bottom line is you can never say something negative about yourself. You cannot leave them with a problem. You always finish your sentence or statement with a solution. If you're talking about anything that is challenging that you've gone through, you don't dead end with the problem or dead end with the challenge. Like, yeah, that was a really difficult person to work with. Yeah, I hated the person, and that was it.
Right.
You got to take it to the next level.
Right.
That was a challenging person to work with. Never get into hate or personal things like that. That was a challenging. Here's how I made it work. Here's what we did to get through the problem and create solutions. And here's how the project at the end of the day was a success, and we got an award for it. So you're sharing things that are extremely positive with regards to anything negative that you might have dealt with. Now, that goes back to yourself. Someone's saying, what's your greatest weakness? They're basically asking you can tell on yourself so I can move on to the next candidate. Tell me what's wrong with you, so that I don't have to ask, I don't have to figure it out. You just tell me, and then I can say goodbye, and I'll move on to the next candidate. So it's interesting because it's election season, and you will not hear any candidate, doesn't matter what party they're in, come out and say negative things about themselves. And the reason why they don't do that is a simple premise. If any candidate put one little grain of negativity about themselves out to the public, what will we talk about? That.
Right.
That's
right,
it.
Right.
It doesn't matter how great they are. That's all we talk about. That's human nature. We all do it. So on an interview, if you go poison your own well with one little thing, when someone says, tell me your weakness, well, I'm disorganized. Oh, really? They write that down. Really? You're disorganized. And you're done. You've disqualified yourself, and you don't even know it, because that's what they're going to think. Oh, my God, this person can't do their job. They're disorganized. So you want to share. You have to answer all the questions. So you can't say, well, that's the question I'm not going to ask or answer. But you want to share it and paint yourself in a very positive light. So you could take a weakness, and I like to use this one example of someone that's in a customer service field. My greatest weakness is I cannot stand to leave any of my customers without all of their needs taken care of. I'm physically unhappy with that. I can't leave my day or leave my desk if I know I've left something major undone with one of my clients. So I will work extra hours. I'll do. So it's a weakness. But it causes you to do something really great. You're a phenomenal customer service person because of your weakness. Your weakness is I can't stand to leave things undone. Or someone that says paperwork is my weakness. I don't like paperwork. So I've learned how to become very organized so I can minimize my paperwork. So you're giving them a real answer, but it's a positive answer to a negative question.
Wow, I like that. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. Good insight. So let's so we dealing with fear, closing the interview. You mentioned that, about the handshake and the eye contact. So post interview, and this is where a lot of people drop the ball.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let me chapter 1, thank you letters. How important would a thank you letter be?
I had a client who I sent 7 candidates, and afterwards we debriefed on all 7 candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And he got to the last candidate,
Mm.
who he said, I really liked her.
Mm.
Of all the people I saw, she's the one I liked the most. Now, I tell my candidates, send thank you letters, right? I'm a recruiter, by the way, by trade, so that's what I do.
Right.
So I tell all my candidates before they go out, these are some of the things that you need to make sure you do, including send a thank you letter, and I'll get into the timing of that thank you letter. But he got to the last candidate, and he said, I really liked her, but she's the only one that didn't send me a thank you letter.
Wow.
So people notice. They notice when you don't do it.
Wow.
And so now, if no one had sent a thank you letter, he might not have noticed. But if you don't send a thank you letter and someone else sends a thank you letter, the difference between getting the next step and losing, meaning they don't ever call you again, can be as much as a thank you letter, a typo, or being a minute late for an interview, or a number of other things.
Right.
So a thank you letter is not only important, but when you send the thank you letter is important. That guy was trying to make a decision, and everyone else had gotten him a thank you letter within the hour. This person, I called her up, and I said, what's up? We talked about this. She said, well, I was going to do it tonight. I was like, you're almost missing the train doing it tonight. She said, well, just 4 hours. 4 hours, this man is just about to make his decision, and you're not going to be on the inside of that decision. So my advice to people when you're interviewing is you've got to demonstrate a sense of urgency. You have absolutely got to demonstrate it. And the reality is people make decisions very quickly. So if you interview and you leave and you decide you're going to wait 4 hours or to the next day or the next week, you can send a thank you. But it's not going to help you because they've probably already made their decision. And so the reason why a thank you is so important is if you're neck and neck with somebody and you send the thank you and they don't, you're the person that elevates to first place.
Right.
And so it's really important to get that out, get it out immediately. You can do it go to a business center. I generally recommend doing a formal thank you letter as a letter format and sending it as an email attachment. You can send it as a regular email if you want. That's the second best. Another option that's very good is to have a card and write thank you and go back, leave the premises, go back to the location, leave the thank you with an intermediary person, not the interviewer. When you leave, it's like leaving a party. You don't want to go back and say, oh, I left my umbrella. Everyone's like, I thought you left. So bring it back to, if it's a hotel, bring it back to the concierge. Say, can you deliver this to such and such room? Give them a tip. Say, I'll call you in 5 minutes. Make sure that it was delivered. You have now set yourself ahead. You have now done everything you need to do on that interview. And a thank you is part of the interview as far as I'm concerned. It is also critical, if you haven't heard anything in a week, that you follow up. And I want to just touch on, if I have a minute, I'll touch on closing. Backing up to when you're closing an interview, it's like dating. So let's just say you met somebody in the park. You had a great day. You hung out with them. You went to the movies. You had a great day. And at the end of the date, they just leave. They just leave.
Right.
See ya. Yeah. And you're sitting there like,
wow.
Wait, I thought that was, what happened? What just happened? I mean, they didn't ask me for my number. They didn't say, can I call? There was no next step. They just left. And as anyone would feel, if you had a great date, you would feel, your heart would drop. Like, I was expecting a little more than that. I thought they'd at least ask. So on an interview, it's the same thing. You want to demonstrate to the interviewer that you have a sense of urgency and interest in moving forward. It's very important to close that interviewer and tell them, I'm very interested. I would like to move forward in this process. What's the next step? Where do we go from here? You don't have to strong arm them and threaten them and say, well, I'm not leaving this room until you don't have to do that. But you do need to let them know, I would like to move forward. And you should ask them for some means of communication. Do you have a business card? Do you have an email so that I can follow up? At least ask. They don't always give it out. That's almost irrelevant, but they're paying attention to what you're doing. So you're showing them, I would like to take the next step forward. And before you do that, there is one question that has saved more interviews than I can tell you. Is before you close, confirm with the interviewer that you've addressed all of their questions. Do you have any questions about what I've shared with you about my background, my
Right,
ability to
right,
do this
wow.
job, my fit with the company. Do you have
Wow.
any questions at all? And the reason for that is if you don't do that and they have one question left, think about if you're buying a car, right? and the guy's like, you want to buy it? And you still have a lingering question like, I'm not so sure if it's got the engine that I want.
Wow.
You're not going to buy it. You're going to leave and you're going to go someplace else. You're not going to buy it because you still have an unanswered question.
Wow.
And you want to make sure you answer all the interviewers' questions. Don't leave it up to chance. Don't let them go. And if they have a question, it's great. It's fine. Thank you. Share your answer. Support it with a specific supportive example, and then close them and let them know you want to move on to the next step.
Wow. This has been some awesome discussion here with Stuart C. Taylor, ladies and gentlemen. How to ace a job interview. Quick tips for an excellent interview. This has been great, brother. I certainly appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you coming out here, and I'm sure Brother Kwesi has enjoyed you this
Awesome.
evening. So let's give out, some closing remarks or any contact information,
Sure.
and why should people get this book?
Sure.
And you're available as well for workshops.
Sure,
and-
absolutely.
Right.
I want to express that. I am available for workshops. I do workshops and seminars, training seminars for schools, returning military, back to work programs.
Oh, great.
I've done it for reentry programs. Any potential job seeker will benefit from this. I'm happy to say the response to my seminars has been phenomenal, and people that read the book say, "I read the book, I got the job." So it's been a really rewarding experience for me, and seeing the results. I do interview coaching, interview training, resume writing, things like that. So anything job related where I can be of assistance, I would very much invite anyone to contact me. My website again is topperformers.com. My email is info at topperformers.com, info at topperformers.com. You can write me there. And some things about the book, besides the fact that I do not know a soul that's read this book that didn't say this was an awesome book. It's pocket-sized. It is broken down into sections. So to take the interview stress out of interviewing, that's why I did this. It's pocket-sized, firstly, so you can literally put it in your suit pocket or in your purse.
Right.
But
Yes, sir.
it's broken down into pre-interview, on-interview, post-interview. So depending on where you are in the process, you can go to that section. You don't have to read the whole book. But if I can say this one thing, what's best about this book, I did a job fair career expo in Canada, Toronto, Canada, the largest expo, the job expo they have. And I had a booth, and I'd done a talk. There was a line of people at my booth, several people back, and I was trying to answer the questions as quickly as possible. Well, this guy came up. He said, I read your book. And this was a guy I had sold the book to about an hour and a half early. He's like, I read your book. At first, it was an hour and a half later, and he read the book. He's like, it's great. I mean, the way you talk about, what employers are looking for and the dating analogy and knowing your top. The guy went through my book. Like, he was just telling me all the concepts in the book. And I was like, this guy memorized this in an hour and a half. He read the book in an hour and a half, and he's now reciting it as well as I am.
Wow.
So people are standing in line at my booth asking questions, and I said, well, ask him. He just read the book. This guy was answering questions as well as I answer questions.
Wow, beautiful,
so
beautiful.
what's good about this book? It's memorable, it's fun, it's funny, it's easy to read, it's broken down into sections, it'll save you time, it'll eliminate your stress, and even if you're not on an interview, you're going to feel great after reading it because you'll know your value. And if you know anybody going to school or graduating at any point, it's a great gift. So that's what's great about the book. So thank you. Thank you.
All right. So you've tuned in to eLife Media, holla at the Success Scholar here each and every Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, elifemedia.net. And Sylvia asked the question. I'm sorry, Sylvia, honey. I was... we'll get that on next time for the brother. Talking about LinkedIn and about company personnel. All right, synergy of coming out.
I'll be happy to come back. So.
Yeah. So we'll get the brother back. So I definitely appreciate you all. And next week I have a sister from Toastmasters actually coming. So Sister Pearl, the district area for Toastmasters, will be in. So I certainly appreciate you all. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you, and thank you, brother Kwesi, the engineer, super engineer here. Was today. Shout out to Dr. Baruch, and shout out to Brother Reggie as well here at the eLife Media family. So thank you all. Till next week. Peace.
Where do you come from? Real love. I want you to